Welcome back to QuickSpeak, the English podcast that helps you improve your speaking. Today we're going to talk about living in the moment. It's something that can really help your English.
That's right. Living in the moment can make learning English easier. And it can help your life in general, too.
Yeah, I agree. When I feel stressed, it's hard to learn. It's like my mind is full of too many thoughts.
That's a good way to put it. Living in the moment helps quiet your mind. It helps you learn new things. Some people think living in the moment means you forget everything, but that's not true. It's not about ignoring your responsibilities.
So it's not about forgetting about the past or future. It's more about balance. But I'm still curious about one thing. How does being present help us learn English?
Well, imagine you're trying to talk in English, but you're worried about making mistakes. Those worries make it harder to speak. But when you're present, you can forget those worries. You can focus on the conversation.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like when you're so worried about spilling your coffee. Then you trip and spill it.
Right?
Sometimes trying too hard makes things worse. But if you can relax, you're more likely to succeed.
Exactly. And the same thing is true for English. When you're present, you learn better, you can concentrate better, and you don't get discouraged as easily.
So how do we do it? How do we live in the moment? It's not like we could just decide to be present.
You're right, but there are techniques you can use, and one of the best techniques is breathing.
Really, just breathing, like in and out.
Yes, but you need to do it mindfully. That means paying attention to your breath. Notice the feeling of your chest moving. Notice the air going through your nose.
So it's not just breathing without thinking. It's about noticing my breath.
Yes, it's simple. You can practice anywhere, anytime. And it has big benefits. It calms you down, reduces stress, and helps you feel present.
So if I'm anxious about speaking English, I can just breathe mindfully.
Yes, like pausing your thoughts. It helps you reconnect with your body and breath. And then you can speak English with more confidence.
Are there any other breathing techniques that are helpful for English learners?
One technique is called box breathing. It's easy. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold your breath for 4 seconds. Breathe out for 4 seconds. Hold your breath again for 4 seconds.
In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. That sounds simple.
It is. And you can do it anywhere. Before you give a presentation, before you take a test, or even before a conversation. Box breathing will help you feel calm.
That's really helpful. But are there other ways to be more present besides breathing?
Yes, there are. Another technique is called sensory grounding. It's about using your 5 senses. Sight, smell, taste, touch, and sound.
So we can use our senses to feel present. That sounds practical.
It is. There are many ways to practice. One way is to notice things you can see, touch, hear, smell, and taste. Find 5 things you can see, then 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste.
Like a game for our senses. And I could do that before I study English.
Exactly. It helps you focus. But even when you're focused, you can still get distracted. Our minds wander. It can be hard to concentrate.
It's true. My mind jumps from one thought to another. How can we stop that?
Mindfulness meditation can help.
I've heard about meditation, but I don't really understand it. Can you explain it simply?
Of course, mindfulness meditation means paying attention to the present moment. You notice your thoughts and feelings, but you don't judge them.
So if I'm thinking about dinner, I just notice that thought. I don't worry about it.
Exactly. You just watch your thoughts. Like watching clouds in the sky, don't try to control them. With practice, you'll have more space between your thoughts.
That sounds relaxing. But how long do I need to meditate?
You don't need to meditate for hours. Even a few minutes can help. Start with 5 minutes and do more if you want.
That's good to hear. Small steps can make a big difference. But what about when we worry about the past or the future? How do we stop that anxiety?
One technique is called cognitive reframing. It's about changing your thoughts.
So if I'm worried about a test, I can change my thought to, I'll do my best.
Exactly. You change your thinking to be more positive. And mindfulness helps you separate your thoughts from your feelings.
So I don't have to panic when I'm stressed.
Right. You can choose how to react. And don't forget about exercise. Yoga and Tai Chi can help you feel calm and present.
That's a good point. There are so many ways to be more mindful. But where do we start?
You can start your day with mindful breathing or meditation.
Instead of checking my phone, I can focus on my breath.
Yes, and you can be mindful throughout the day. Try mindful eating or mindful walking. Even small moments of mindfulness can help.
So it's not about changing everything. It's about making small changes.
Exactly. And every moment can be a mindful moment. Waiting in line, commuting to work, even washing dishes. Be present in every moment.
I like that. It's about finding peace in everyday life.
Yes. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Mindfulness will become natural.
This is really helpful.
Mhm.
I want to be more mindful in my life. But before we finish this part, let's talk about some of the myths about living in the moment.
Good idea. There are a lot of misconceptions. One myth is that it means being irresponsible.
Right. It's not about ignoring the future. It's about finding balance.
Exactly. Another myth is that you need to be happy all the time. But life has ups and downs. It's okay to feel all your emotions.
That's true. It's not about denying negative feelings. It's about experiencing them.
Yes, and you don't need to forget the past. Just don't let it control your present.
I think that's hard for English learners. We compare ourselves to others. But we need to focus on our own journey.
You're right. And remember, mindfulness is a practice. It's not something you achieve overnight. Be patient and keep practicing.
It's a journey. What are some challenges people face with mindfulness?
One challenge is that our minds wander. We need to train our minds to stay present.
It's like training a puppy.
Yes. And another challenge is accepting difficult emotions. Mindfulness teaches us to accept all our feelings.
That's important. It's about being with our emotions.
And of course, finding time for mindfulness can be hard. But even a few minutes helps.
I understand that. But even a few minutes can make a difference. We talked about breathing and using our senses, but how does that actually help us with English? I don't really see the connection.
I understand. It can be hard to see how mindfulness connects to speaking English. Let's think about listening. When you're present, you can really listen to English. You can hear the sounds and the rhythm. You're not distracted by your thoughts.
So it's like when there's a lot of noise around you
Yeah.
and you try to hear one person.
Yes. Mindfulness helps you focus on the sounds of English. It's also good for your pronunciation. When you really hear the sounds, you can copy them better.
So it's like training your ears, like a musician. That's interesting. But what about actually speaking? I get scared to speak, even when I understand.
Remember, we talked about space between thoughts. Mindfulness helps you create that space, so you don't have to react with fear. You can pause and choose how to respond.
I know what you mean. Sometimes I feel like I'm being judged when I speak. It's hard to ignore those feelings.
We all have those feelings, but mindfulness helps you quiet those thoughts. You can focus on the conversation. You can connect with the person you're talking to.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we focus on the other person, not our own worries. But what about reading and writing? Does mindfulness help with those too?
It does. Even with reading and writing, mindfulness can help. When you read, mindfulness helps you slow down. You notice the words and the sentences.
So we really pay attention to the words, instead of just reading quickly.
That's right. And this helps you understand better. It also helps you learn new words. You start to see patterns in the language.
That's amazing. And what about writing?
When you write mindfully, you understand your thoughts better, so you can write more clearly. You also notice mistakes more easily.
It's like having a helper who checks your writing, and you can express your ideas more honestly.
Exactly. And mindfulness can also help with your motivation.
Oh yeah, motivation's so important. Sometimes I feel discouraged. How can mindfulness help with that?
Learning a new language is hard. It's okay to feel discouraged. Mindfulness helps you be patient. It helps you keep trying, and it helps you be kind to yourself.
So I can learn from my mistakes, instead of feeling bad about them.
Yes, it's about changing how you think about mistakes. But being mindful isn't easy. There's so many distractions. How can we stay mindful with all these distractions? It's true, it's hard. But you can try setting an intention. At the beginning of the day, remind yourself to be present.
Like a reminder to be mindful.
Exactly. And when you feel stressed, try breathing mindfully.
Oh yeah, breathing. I forget how helpful that is.
It's like a quick way to relax. And spending time in nature can also help.
I love being in nature. It's so calming.
Nature helps us be present. It helps us connect with our senses. So how can we use mindfulness when we're learning English? Try watching or listening to something in English, but really pay attention. Don't just have it on in the background.
So I shouldn't watch TV while I'm doing other things.
It's better to focus on the English. Notice the pronunciation, the words, the grammar. You'll learn more that way.
I'm going to try that. But mindfulness isn't magic, right? I'm not going to suddenly be fluent.
You're right. It takes time. But mindfulness helps you learn better. It's like a superpower for your brain.
So mindfulness helps us focus and learn. But we still need to study and practice.
Exactly. Mindfulness is a tool. It's not the whole solution, but it can make a big difference. And remember, mindfulness is good for your whole life.
It's true. It helps us focus, relax, and be more creative. It's amazing.
It is. So as we finish this part, I want to encourage everyone. Try to be more mindful when you're learning English.
Even a few minutes each day can help.
Yes. Be present, be curious, and enjoy learning.
Welcome back to QuickSpeak. It's been so interesting talking about mindfulness. We've talked about the benefits and some techniques, but I'm wondering about resources. Like, what can our listeners use to be more mindful, especially for learning English?
That's a good question. One thing you can try is guided meditations. They can help you relax and focus, and there are some specifically made for language learners.
Guided meditations. I've heard of those, but I've never actually tried them. What are they like?
They're like recordings. Someone talks you through a meditation. They help you focus your attention and be present. And some meditations can help with language learning anxieties.
Oh, that sounds nice. Do you know any good apps or websites for that?
Yeah, there are lots of good ones. One app is called Calm. It has meditations for all kinds of things like focus and stress.
I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, and another one is Headspace. It's good for beginners because it's easy to use.
Those sound good.
Yeah.
And what about websites?
One good website is mindful.org. They have articles and meditations and lots of information about mindfulness.
Okay, mindful.org. I'll check that out. Is there anything specifically for language learners?
There's a website called Mindful Language Learning. It has resources and tips just for learning languages.
Oh, wow, a whole website. I like that. What about books? Do you recommend any books about mindfulness?
Yes. One classic book is called Wherever You Go, There You Are. It's a good introduction to mindfulness.
I like reading, so I'll look for that one. Any books about mindfulness and languages?
There's one called The Mindful Language Learner. It's full of good tips.
The Mindful Language Learner. Okay. It's amazing that there's so much out there. But what about things we can do offline without using technology,
One thing you can do is journaling.
like writing in a diary?
Yeah, it's a good way to think about your feelings and experiences with English.
I like that idea. It's a way to understand myself better. And what about mindful walking? I've heard about that too.
Mindful walking means paying attention when you walk. Notice how your body feels and what you see around you.
That sounds relaxing. But what if I don't have a lot of time? Are there any quick exercises I can try?
One exercise is called the S.O.P practice. It stands for stop, take a breath, observe, and proceed.
Stop, take a breath, observe, proceed. What does that mean?
It means when you feel stressed, just stop, take a breath, and notice how you feel. Then you can continue what you were doing.
It's like a quick break for my mind.
Exactly. And it only takes a minute. So do you feel ready to try mindfulness in your life?
Yes, I do. I'm excited to try these techniques.
Mindfulness is a journey. Some days will be easier than others. Just be patient with yourself and keep practicing.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Right. And remember, mindfulness doesn't have to be serious. It can be fun too.
I like that. So find what works for you and enjoy it. Well, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. It was great talking to you.
And to all our listeners, keep practicing your English and try to be mindful. It can really help. Don't forget to subscribe to QuickSpeak for more tips and check the description for more resources from today's episode. We have vocabulary lists and exercises for you. Until next time, happy learning.